A trailblazer and hero. That's who Jessica Platt is. The first openly transgender athlete in the Canadian Women's Hockey League, Jessica has become an outspoken advocate for the LGBTQ2S+ community and for anyone who wants to live their truth. Playing for the Toronto Furies of the CWHL, Jessica announced to the world that she was trans in 2018. The positive response to Jessica's announcement only propelled her message forward, one of acceptance and equality. She relied on advice from fellow transgender athlete Harrison Brown, who came out 2 years prior. And now Jessica's story of resilience helps provide a path forward for other athletes facing similar decisions. In 2018, Platt was recognized as one of Canada's Women of Influence's top 25 women of influence. Her goal then was to create a new accepting culture within hockey and beyond. And that continues today.
Well, our paths don't cross often enough. I'm always so excited to see you. Jessica, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's always great to see you.
I'll just start with a simple, how have you been?
I've been as good as one can be during COVID. I've been working pretty consistently, training as much as I can, trying to stay active, fit, just doing what I can do to stay happy and active, I guess.
I think that's kind of as good as it gets right now, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So we know you as a hockey player, but I didn't actually realize you were a competitive duathlete. And you and I have had some kind of interactions on social media about running, but my running is like, a half an hour, a few times a week. What does training to be a duathlete consist of?
Well, I'm sure at the higher levels when, people do that as their job, it's a lot more intensive. But for me, I'm running 5 to 10 kilometers, probably 4 or 5 times a week, 5 to 10 kilometers each run. And then I'm getting on the bike as much as humanly possible, usually 3 times a week at least. And I'm just trying to stay as fit as possible. And the workouts can be really interesting and painful. I'm not sure if you know much about duathlons, but
No.
The transition from biking to running can be really hard. So we have to work that into our training.
Jessica, obviously this has been an intense year on so many fronts. Pandemic aside, there's been a massive social reckoning. What have you felt in yourself has shifted?
I feel like we're on the verge of some great changes. I know there's a lot of people out there, fighting the good fight. There's a lot of people out there, unfortunately, fighting against equality and equity for trans athletes, trans kids, especially in the States. People for some reason don't really want to give equality, don't want to give equity. But I feel like we're on the verge of getting that equity that we need in society.
Well, I know this is why it's so important for you to continue to tell your story. I want to just bring in this book, The Everyday Hockey Heroes, which is a series of chapters written by remarkable people, including yourself. Presumably, this opened you up to maybe a new audience. What made you decide to jump on board?
Well, when I was asked to write a chapter for the book, I was, a little bit hesitant at first because, I'd see Bob McKenzie's audience as typical hockey fans, cisgender white men, probably around middle age to, early middle age. And they're not really known for being the most accepting of diversity. So I was a little bit nervous at first, but I knew that getting my story out there to that audience would hopefully humanize trans women and trans women in sport. It might educate people to, be more accepting, to really learn something that they might not be, comfortable with, they might not have heard about. And, I think it's really important to humanize trans people, to humanize trans women, because, people, they don't know how they feel about a subject until they know, and they don't know how they feel about people until they know someone who, falls under that category. So I kind of wanted to give people a glimpse into my life so they could feel like they know a trans woman and they can see, that we're just people too.
You didn't have any role models particularly growing up, did you? Any trans role models?
No, when I was growing up, anytime I ever saw anyone who was transgender, they were always the butt of the joke in TV shows. It was always made out to be something horrible. And it really gave me a sense for a very long time of, why would I want to be that person? I need to hide this. I need to try my best to be normal.
And that's why representation is so important, why you are so important. When you kind of look at the landscape, when, what are we seeing as a society? Is representation better and more accurate?
Representation is getting significantly better. Before I started playing hockey again and getting back into sports, I had never really thought I could play sports again at an elite level. And then I saw a commercial with Chris Mosier on, it was a Nike commercial, and I saw him, competing for Team USA in duathlon, and seeing that, thought maybe I can play sports as well. So, being able to see it means you can do it.
I mean, yeah, right. Role models aren't just for kids. I think we all need them. We all need role models throughout our lives. Yeah. I know Harrison Brown also provided inspiration for you.
Yes, he did. He was, a great inspiration. He came out the year before me in the NWHL, and I got a good sense of how the women's hockey community reacted to him. And I saw that they are very open, very accepting, and it really gave me the push I needed to come out publicly. I saw the good that I could do, and no amount of negativity was going to stop me.
So we'll get back to that point, but I want to kind of go through your journey in hockey, because hockey was the place you felt the most like yourself on the ice, but locker rooms were not a safe space for you. You stepped away from the game for 7 years.
About that, yeah.
Yeah. What invited you back in, or what made you feel like you could step back into it?
I got to a point in my life where I was happy. I had transitioned to the point that I wanted to, and I was comfortable with my body, and I wanted to get back to playing hockey. I had gotten a job teaching kids how to play hockey, how to skate, little learn to skate programs, and it really reignited my passion for hockey. So that, in combination with being happy and comfortable in my own body, I felt like I could take the next step and potentially play hockey again. So, it all started in a ladies summer league in Sarnia, and I went from there.
Well, you didn't just play hockey again. You went to the CWHL and entered the draft as an unknown. So, what inspired that step for you?
Well, I've always been a very competitive person. I want to be as, the best I can be. And, I transitioned, I was happy with my body, and I had this newfound motivation and desire to take care of my body and train to be the best I possibly could be. So I wanted to see how far I could take it, and, tried out for the CWHL. I didn't make it that first year. I got called up for 4 games, and I made the team the next 2 years.
I've heard you say that you were almost the most nervous to come out to your teammates at that point when you decided to come out publicly. What was their reaction?
Well, I was terrified to tell them because, for so long I had felt unsafe in the locker room setting. And, I didn't want to be rejected by my teammates. So to tell them, I was literally shaking. So their reaction, though, was incredible. I had stepped out of the room to give them time to digest the information I had given them. And, they came out of the change room pretty much immediately and hugged me, told me how proud they were of me, and, asked if I was going to come get ready for practice. And everything was just business as usual. It was amazing.
I mean, I can only imagine the profound relief that you must have experienced in that moment.
Absolutely. I was so scared that, what if everything changes? What if I'm not welcome anymore? And, nothing changed. I was just the same person. And, we had hockey practice to get to.
You also knew that by coming out publicly that it made you a public person and that you were, potentially going to be subject to the negatives. A lot of that is just ignorance and pure misconception. What do you want people to know and understand?
Well, a lot of people think that trans women are just transitioning to dominate women's sports. And, people aren't going to transition just to dominate women's sports.
Right.
I can't speak to all the reasons that, people are going to transition, but personally for me, I transitioned for one reason, and that was, simply to be happy. I had given up hockey for a long time. I just wanted to find happiness in my life, and to be able to play again and at such an elite level was just a bonus for me. And the idea that someone would give up their male privilege, risk rejection, harassment, violence, and even murder, just to potentially, excel at women's sports is ridiculous. Because, why would they do this? For money, for prestige, for fame? Women's pro athletes don't get even a small fraction the fame and prestige that men's athletes get. And, specifically for hockey, the money is basically non-existent.
I'll ask you as sort of the greater sporting community, where are we?
I think we're getting there. I don't think we're getting there quite as fast as we should or that I hope. There's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of people that are still fighting against inclusivity and diversity in sports. But I think we're going to get there, and we just need people who have these experiences to keep sharing it, to keep educating, and to keep pushing for, a better, more inclusive, diverse future in sports for everyone, so everyone can be part of the sporting community.
I'm going to read you what is at the beginning of your chapter, Simply a Hockey Player. And you say, most people know me as a transgender hockey player, but I'm an all-round athlete. I play hockey and ultimate frisbee and compete in duathlons, among many other sports. I'm also a fiance, a sister, a daughter, and a pet owner. I was a high school band geek and a sorority sister. I'm caring, compassionate, funny, and empathetic, to name a few things. As an athlete who also happens to be trans, I'm often labeled and defined by that one aspect of my identity, but I am so much more than that. Are you there in most of your life where people see you as this well-rounded person that you are?
I think in my life, people see me as the well-rounded person. The people who might know me just on the internet or hear about me in women's hockey might only see me as, the transgender hockey player. But, I like to think that my friends and my family and the people that surround me on a day-to-day basis just see me as happy, caring, just kind of an all-around positive person to be around.
Well, I think, I see why it's important to only wear that hat some of the time to just preserve your energy. And then you just get to be you most of the time. right?
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
I appreciate you so much. And Jessica, I'm going to leave you with a question that we ask all of our guests. And that is, what is your best advice to a young you?
Love yourself, because it's so rare to know who you are. There's so many people that go through their lifetime trying to figure out who they are and what they stand for, but you know it early on. And once you truly accept yourself, you're going to find love, happiness, confidence that you've always been looking for. And lastly, it's not always going to be easy, but it's definitely going to be worth it.
I'm going to break tradition here and ask you, what would you do if you saw a young you on the street?
If I saw a young me on the street, I would just want to run up and hug them, tell them it's going to be okay, and that life is so much more than it is right then for them. There's such a bright future waiting, even though you might not see it.
Well, you are that bright light. Jessica, thank you so much for this.
Thank you.